This is Dr. Heavenly's Business Prescriptions. And guys, I'm a dentist. I've been a dentist for over 15 years now, and I've made all the mistakes that you can make. And what I'm telling you is, you can have it all. You can have the family, you can have the children, and you can have the career at the same time. Life is about balance. Once you get balance and the right mindset, you can accomplish anything with God. Dr. Heavenly's Business Prescriptions. Today we have a special guest, Dr. Rico Short. Dr. Rico Short is a board certified endodontist here in the city of Atlanta, and he's deemed himself as the endodontist to the stars. We're going to have a lot of questions for him. We're going to have an exciting show, and we'll be right back. And we're back. Thank you so much for coming out, meeting with us today.
My pleasure.
Good, good. I have a couple of questions for you, Rico.
Okay.
You're an endodontist.
Yes.
Tell the people exactly what an endodontist is.
Well, an endodontist is basically a fancy word for a root canal specialist. Right. And basically what we do as root canal specialists, we're able to go in and save a tooth that would otherwise have to be extracted or pulled, or if you have infection with the tooth. And that's what we do. And we're highly specialized in doing that. And we do know that there are general dentists that do a lot of root canals. In fact, statistically, there's about 75% of general dentists that do their own root canals.
Right.
And we see about 25% of those ones that are typically complicated or sometimes have to be what we call retreated. So that's what we do. And the other difference is that we usually have different anesthetics and different techniques to even make it more comfortable. An implant is a great tool to use if you cannot save your tooth and if it have to be extracted.
So it's last resort.
That's right. And if a root canal that's done properly and is properly restored, the success rate for a root canal and implant is actually the same. And also the cost is less. So it is always in your best interest to save your own tooth if possible.
Gotcha. So Doc, you're the endodontist to the stars. How'd you get that name?
I was an endodontist, and I actually just fell into a niche, and I worked on quite a few celebrities.
Like who?
Some include Usher, Bobby Valentino, Rick Ross, Arnaz J. The list goes on and on. I've kind of lost track. The root canal specialist to the stars, and me from a humble background, I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. And they kept telling me, well, if you don't do that, somebody else will.
Right.
And so as I called myself that opened the door for me to see other celebrities. But in my office, we treat everybody like a star.
Definitely.
Everybody that sits in the chair, we treat them as celebrities as well.
Right, you give the same treatment that you would your mother.
That's right. And also the same cost. So just because they're a celebrity, we don't charge them anymore.
Right, that's a good thing.
And we don't necessarily give them a discount either.
Wow, that's good.
That's right.
That's good. Well, we'll be right back. And we're back here with Dr. Rico Short, endodontist to the stars. Now, Dr. Short, you have a book that you put out, and I just want to know what was the inspiration for you writing the book, because it's not about teeth.
Right. Well, actually, the book came from Facebook, believe it or not. Every day I was posting daily inspirational words of encouragement, and people were actually, their lives were getting changed based on that. And so after about a year or two of doing that, someone said, hey, you ought to write a book and publish it. So I decided that, you know what, I'm going to put my thoughts in writing. And write a book.
That's powerful.
And that's when I decided to go on that journey of writing a book, and it's called Getting to the Root of Your Problem.
Now, Doctor, I've heard that you have, you've been to the Washington, D.C. with the president to talk about Obamacare.
Right.
Can we talk about Obamacare? Because I don't think a lot of people really know what it consists of. What we do know is that, you know, it's insurance, and it's actually subsidized in different insurances for people that don't have insurance. So when you went to D.C., what did you learn, and what can you tell us about Obamacare that we probably don't already know?
Well, it depends on how much time you got, because the Obamacare, or I like to call it the Patient Affordable Care Act, because it was actually called that before Obama even really went into office, and this is something that Congress was working on for a while, because they saw in the long term, if we don't do anything about health care, it's just going to die out. So we have to make some type of changes in order to make sure health care is available, especially for those that's less fortunate. And basically, I was selected amongst 150 top healthcare providers all over the country to give our opinion on affordable care.
Right.
How can we get affordable care? And they just wanted to know from us, hey, how do you guys feel? You guys are on the ground
Right.
doctors and healthcare providers. Since we are in the United States, which is the wealthiest country in the world, that's a shame.
Yes.
That people actually die because they can't get access to healthcare. So they decided to write a bunch of laws to try to help the underserved. And so basically the way it's going to lay out, it's going to be over a few years, and they're going to kind of start it off as little mandates here or there, just to allow access to care.
Now, my question to you is, my husband is an emergency medicine physician, and what we find is a lot of people come in the ER that don't have medical coverage, and the problem is, okay, Obamacare, we call it Obama because Obama was actually the one that could push it through and got it certified, but there's going to be a shortage over the next 5 years of a lack of physicians.
Well, basically, back to what you were saying initially, the whole Patient Affordable Care Act was really for the working poor.
Gotcha.
People who are working hard, but they don't make enough money to afford to have health care, or their company does not give that to them, and that's what it's really for. And there is some question about mid-level providers, and there is some avenues for that. But the whole premise of it is not to just get low bottom of the barrel service. They want to keep the service high.
But it's not enough doctors to provide this service. I guess that's the issue.
Right. There's not enough doctors to provide that service. I just read a little update on the Affordable Care Act. They're actually going to pump, I think it's $11 billion in the community health service.
So it's a great industry to be in.
Right.
So,
if you're in public health, they're actually going to provide the same level of service and the quality equipment that you would get in private care. And they're actually are going to pay competitive salaries. This is what they said.
How are they able to do that when it's not enough for the elite anyway? We're going to be short of doctors in excess of 150,000. How can we get the same amount of service and the same amount of care when these doctors are already busy? Now, you can go to mid-level providers and have a physician over them, but it's still not the same oversight.
Right.
Right.
Well, we know the trend is there's definitely going to be more patients and less physicians.
Right.
But all physicians are not busy.
Right.
I mean, that's. I think
it depends on the specialty.
It depends on the depends on where you're located.
Right.
Depends on the area. Like an ER.
I hate to cut you off. My producer is telling me we got to pay some bills. We'll be right back. We got a commercial coming. We'll be right back. Dr. Heavenly's Business Prescriptions. And we're back. Dr. Heavenly's Business Prescriptions. We're having conversation with Dr. Rico Short.
If it wasn't for the government, I wouldn't be here as a doctor today.
Definitely.
If it wasn't for the government, I wouldn't understand the importance of being able to volunteer without getting paid, or without an incentive. But what happens is, if you take somebody from that era and understands and have a heart for medicine, have a heart for people, they are willing to take a pay cut or go away from their office to give back. And we don't have enough of that. Unfortunately, because we've been in the United States, we're spoiled. It's about money, how much money I can make, how many things I have.
It ain't just about you. Right. I mean, you're making money too, Doc.
Right. But at the same time, that's a reflection of how much I give back as well.
Right.
I mean, and that's the thing. I like nice things.
Yeah.
But I do give back.
Right.
And I don't give back just by lip service, and I don't give back just by money. I give back actually with hands on the ground, touching people who cannot afford, or even if I still got student loans.
Right.
I still got a house. I still got a family. My kids in private school. It still costs me money.
Right.
But there's nothing more important to me to be able to help someone else who can't. If I can't have 2 nice cars, so what? If I can't go on 5 vacations nice and I have to just cut back to 3, so what? If that's going to make the difference in me helping somebody else who otherwise can't get help, I'm willing to be able to do that.
A lot of dentists, general dentists, they're not doing it, and they don't have the time or the income to even try to volunteer.
But why don't they?
Because they don't have, they're not running their business right, they weren't taught correctly, and that's why I'm here. Dr. Heavenly's Business Prescriptions. You can't take over my show. Look, Dr. Heavenly's Business Prescriptions, and that's what I'm here for, to educate doctors on how to run a business properly.
It's not just doctors, it's people.
Right.
There are people out there that's living way beyond their means.
Right, definitely.
People living on credit cards when they don't even understand what interest is.
But then if you're going to go there, Doc, then you can take that a lot of people misuse the benefits of the government. Not saying that your family did.
Right.
But a lot of people, it's a
And you know
cyclical
why?
effect because that's
lack
all
of
they know.
education,
That's
all
all
they
they
know.
know.
There are principles in place, whether you believe in God or not, that will work for you.
Gratitude.
Right.
Giving back, paying your tithes, whatever your religion is, it all comes back to the same thing.
Right.
But I think a lot of people, Democrats, Republicans, are on different sides because we're so far to the left and so far to the right that we need to come in the middle.
Right.
There's so many people that take advantage of the system, and you know people that
Sure,
do.
yeah.
And then there's some people that don't want to help people that
Right.
can't help themselves.
Right.
And it's not the point that they can't help themselves, they just don't believe that they can. So my thing is, once we get in and we're able to change the mindset of these people, you know what I mean, then they'll change their actions, which will ultimately change their results.
Right.
You know
right,
what I mean?
Right, right.
Yeah.
And that's what it boils down to. I mean, because whatever, you can give a person a fish and they'll eat for a day, but you teach them how to fish, they can eat for a lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where it's lacking, is education. It's just like if you were to win the lottery and $100 million, you're used to drinking
I tried, dog. I didn't win.
Didn't win it? Oh, that's
no,
okay.
I did not.
Well,
so when you go to prisons, you educate them on how they can think differently, or definitely.
when you give somebody hope and they mix that with faith and they have the wisdom, they can really come out of any situation. And that's what I wanted to give to them. And not only to them, that's what I want to give to everybody. That's what I want to give you guys as well.
Right,
This is like gravity. This is a law that's in place, has been in place since the world began. And if you get yourself involved in that law, then you're going to get certain results from that.
Definitely. And like I say to the other people, I take a lot of classes, not just dental classes, but business classes. And I say over and over again, they have principles there that are biblical, but then they're universal at the same time.
Exactly.
Give back vision board. You have to have a vision. You have to write
Exactly.
that vision down and get clarity to what you're doing.
Right.
So if we can address the masses, and that's what I think is so great about you and what you're doing, is that you reach people that you and I reach people that normally might not get that that idea.
Well, I heard someone say this: it's not necessarily about what you say, it's more or less who says it.
Exactly.
Because if you get the right person that says a certain thing, they have it by a certain person, it has a certain ring to it that they can actually bring it into their heart, and it plants a seed, and then they can get a harvest. But if the wrong person says the right thing, it doesn't necessarily mean a harvest is going to come from that.
Exactly. And I come from humble beginnings. I'm from Overtown. I don't know if you know Miami. And you come, obviously
I know Miami.
because and then I think that if we're able to do it, anybody can. If you got the right mindset and you got somebody telling you can do it, you change your mindset, and then you can change your results.
Yes.
That's all.
And
we're
it sounds
trying
like
to do here.
mentorship. It sounds like you had some type of mentor.
And I didn't,
of some sort.
other than reading the Bible.
Well, that's the mentor.
That's it.
I mean, and God is the ultimate mentor you can ever have.
Ultimate, I agree.
I mean, and so if people stop using excuses, and if they didn't have a mentor and they actually use the word of God,
right?
I mean, it can literally change their life.
I agree.
Yeah.
Terrell keeps telling us, our producer keeps telling us, we got to go to some commercial breaks. We'll be right back. Dr. Heavenly's Business Prescriptions. And we're back. Dr. Heavenly's Business Prescriptions. We're having conversation with Dr. Rico Short. Now, when I wrote my book, and it just released last week, Dr. Heavenly's Business
Congratulations
Prescriptions.
on that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I have a lot of business tips in there, but not only that, I have a lot of life balance tips about relationships, about and talking about a lot of different things. And the feedback I'm getting is that there has been a shift in the roles of man and woman. A lot of women have come back to me and said personally, Dr. Heavenly, I understand your business tips and they're all great, and I see your blogs, they're fine. My problem is I already have my business together. I just can't find someone to share it with.
Everybody's not meant to be married.
True.
And everybody won't get married. What they do is they force relationships and they compromise. And then what happens is that creates more hurt.
Okay.
That creates more problems in the future. I mean, just like you mentioned, you have, I have plenty of female friends that are independent, they're business savvy, and they're trying to find the right person. That's the wrong thing.
Okay.
Find.
Yeah.
Okay. In fact, what it says is that even you break it down biblically, God is the one that gives you, okay, in due time, your mate. If you go out there looking for a mate, you may think you have a mate, but you got a snake.
Right.
So and you already know what
and
a
that's
snake
what
is.
they're finding, and they're downplaying y'all brothers. They're making, because of bad experiences, and they're holding on to these bad experiences, and they're carrying it to the next relationship and the next relationship. But I was talking to another guy. He's a board certified anesthesiologist.
Sure.
So, and he's single.
Sure.
And his problem with women, and I asked him, I said, why are you single? You're successful, you're nice looking, what is the problem? He said that in Atlanta, there are a lot of professional women here that are pretty, but they don't have the character that he's looking for. They're very well content
Sure.
with being number 2 or 3.
Sure.
So if they can't respect themselves, then how can I? So
Right.
that's the problem he's having. And I want to know, what's the problem in the mindset that made this shift that women, and I'm not going to even say the problem is with men, it's with women. And it's the same thing in my book. It's all about mindset, because if you know who you are
Right.
and of whose you are, then you know what you can get. And
Right.
it's all about thinking it through. If you speak it, if you think it, faith comes by hearing, faith
Right.
comes by hearing, then you get anything in this world you want. You can have it all.
Sometimes you can have expectations that are reasonable, and sometimes they aren't. And that's an individual thing.
Right.
It depends on the
Okay.
individual.
Okay.
I grew up single parent household. Never knew my father.
Okay.
And every uncle I had said, "Hey, the best life you can live is how many women you can get," and that was it. That's how I was raised. I was going to church, but that wasn't. I mean, I was just going to church.
Do you think that would be a fulfilling life?
Absolutely not.
Right.
Because I tried that.
Okay.
I tried that, and I went through all that stuff, and yeah, there was some great points, but there was some deep valleys, and I'm like, you know what, this is void. I mean, you're dating all these different women and all that stuff, and then what happens is God just basically spoke to me. He said, Rico, if you continue to do this, either you're going to be dead, okay, or you're going to lose everything that you work hard for. And so at that point, I had to do some soul searching and step back from everybody I was dating, and I just totally opened myself up to God and said, God, you know who I am.
Pick the right woman for
Send me
me.
the right person. And I was patient, and eventually he sent the right person for me. They look for something, what they want first versus what they need. And your want can be can really mess you up.
Well, I beg to differ. When I saw my husband, I knew he was the one for me, and I spoke in my mind and out loud what I wanted, and he came along. So you can get what you want.
Right.
You can get what you want
But that's
and what you need
But
at the
that's
same
what happened
time.
with Heavenly.
Yeah.
Everybody's name is not Heavenly.
But what I'm saying is it can happen. There's exceptions to every rule.
Right,
But
right.
you can get what you want. Don't tell people they
Right.
can't get what they want, because they can get what they want. They can have it all. They can have the woman they want, the man they want. They can have the job they want, the career they want, the kids they want. They can have it all through the right mindset. Talking to God. God can do anything for you. And if you ask him, and he tells you in the Bible, I don't know the Bible verse, but I get my preacher in here. If you ask of him,
Right.
he will do for you.
But God is not going to give you something you can't handle.
Right,
Because that's
definitely.
abuse.
Yeah.
And what happens is people want stuff that they can't necessarily handle.
Right.
Obviously, in your situation, the guy
can
that you
handle
have for
it.
you,
Yeah, I
you're
can
able to handle him.
Exactly.
And vice versa. And that's why you're still married, successful, been married 15 years, and that's great.
That's good. You remember that.
That's
15
right.
years.
Important things I tend to remember. If you start looking for mates in the club, chances are you're going to be hard-pressed to find that person you want to spend the rest of your life with. Now, am I saying that's impossible? No. No, I'm not. I mean, you can actually find a mate in the club. You can find a mate in Walmart. But not only that, for men especially, and you guys need to hear this, it's not necessarily the right person, but for men, it's also the right timing.
Yes.
Men can have the right person, but it's the wrong time. Guess what? It won't work. So women quit trying to, do all these things to try to peruse this man into proposing to you. I know it's Christmas time coming up, things like that. But just be yourself, and then you'll see those signs and see if that man is ready.
And we're back. Dr. Heavenly's Business Prescriptions. We're having conversation with Dr. Rico Short.
As humans, what we are attracted to, first of all, is from vision.
So what you're saying is men can't determine lust from love? Because I know that women can.
Initially,
They can't.
I would say it's impossible. You initially meet somebody. How you gonna fall in love with somebody you don't even know?
I beg to differ. How
can you fall in love?
You
Okay,
know what you
okay.
want. It's impulses. It's things that you see that are subliminal that you can't explain.
Okay.
That you can fall in love with someone at
Okay.
first sight.
Okay.
Anybody saying that they have the perfect marriage, they lying. It's going to be problems.
That's
it's
right.
going to be ups and downs. Most men don't know what they want or what they need until the woman lets them know what they
Well,
want.
I'm glad you brought me on the show because I'm bringing some balance to the guys out here. Because you know what? With all due respect, I hear what she's saying. I respect what she's saying, but my outset of that is different.
My whole thing thing is, yes, if a man of course you can fall out of love with someone if they're not doing their part. My whole thing is, a problem that a lot of women have with men is they'll start off doing things that they don't continue to do. Now, I also think that you can fall in love with someone over time if they're a provider, they're doing everything you need them to do as far as support, providing for you, doing nice things for you. And I want to repeat to you that a lot of people might not agree.
Right, and that's fine. That's why we're here.
But
that's why we're here.
But you can always tell if a man really cares about you or not. And the way you can tell, just like anything, if he's not spending his money or his time, then he don't care. You will know very quickly whether he loves you or he does not love you, and it does not take them long to make a decision of who they want to be. Timing has nothing to do with it. That's an excuse.
You know, I know really good men that are in great marriages and great relationships, and their wives still treat them like crap. I mean, they provide, they spend money, they spend time, and yet, you know, all the things that happen before the marriage and before the kids, including sex, cuts off. That cuts off, or it gets reduced, and then you become the third wheel.
Why is that?
Why? I think it's naturally in a woman, when they have children, I'm speaking about children, it's natural for them to put their kids first.
Balance through a mindset. And hey, it's been wonderful having you. Look, we got to talk about how can we find you, Doc? How can we find your book?
Thank you. The website is www.gettingtotherootofyourproblem.com. You can Google me. It's also on Amazon. It's also at Barnes & Nobles and some of the stores, and also online. And actually just made the iTunes as well. And you can also just put my name in there, Dr. Rico Short.